The Spice Girls is bigger than any of us, the five of us know that. We experienced sexism within the industry really early on, which made us determined to be a girl band for girls. I've got in trouble for saying this in the past, but all friendship groups have this. We have different ones with different people in, but the one that makes me laugh is we have this running joke where everything is Mel B's idea. So the group that she started, the group chat, is called My Idea.
Australia has never been home to a Spice Girls concert.
And that breaks my heart. I'll be there shouting for Australia if and when some decisions are made. Not everybody makes it this far. And I think we just have to really live each day the best that we can.
Melanie C., welcome to the Stella podcast.
Thank you so much.
It's not your first time on the cover of Stella, but it is your first time in the podcast studio. It's lovely to meet you in person. You are spending a lot of time in Australia at the moment. Are we able to officially claim you as an honorary Australian? I mean, you rang in the new year here singing down
I think
at the
so.
Opera House.
I hope so. I've loved having so much more time here. It's brilliant. Obviously, doing The Voice. This is my second season, second year here. And New Year, wow, what an honour and a privilege it was to perform outside the Opera House. It's been wild. I did have some trips here back in the day with the Spice Girls. We launched the movie here and I've played as a solo artist. But I had a little quiet time when I didn't visit you. So I'm making up for lost time.
I mean, how dare you? Was that quiet time during COVID or was there another reason?
Well, I was here. In fact, the last time I was in Stella magazine was just before COVID hit. Yes. I had a record out, my last album, and I was doing a promo trip here and I was actually touring with Sink the Pink as well, my beautiful queer collective that I love to work alongside. And yeah, that all happened 2019, 2020, and the world changed forever, didn't it?
It sure did.
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking at the time you were one of the people that it was a little bit whether you could get home or not because it was such a rapidly evolving situation with the borders.
Yeah, it was literally as places and the world started to shut down, really. So I flew to LA, and when I got there, all of the interviews, and I think I was still having writing sessions at the time, but all of the work I had scheduled, places have closed down, and they were, in fact, the president at the time, who's the president right now, we shan't name check him, he closed the borders. So I had to get out quite quickly because my daughter was in London, I was in LA. So yeah, it was a bonkers time, yeah.
Not to stay too long in that bonkers time, but I was thinking about everything you've got coming up this year, and we'll be talking through different parts of it, but you've just announced a global tour. As you said, you're here in Australia filming your second turn, your second spin. See what I did there as a coach on The Voice Australia. And, of course, you've got a new album coming out on May 1st, Sweat.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. And there's also a certain anniversary happening in the middle of the year in July. It's going to be 30 years since the Spice Girl released the little single. I think everyone listening, reading or watching this might have heard of it in 1996, Wannabe. So as I say, we will unpack each of those things, but that is a lot, even by the measure of a very busy person, Melanie. That's a pretty jam-packed schedule. Was that time once you got home, were reunited with your daughter, that slowing down, that enforced slowing down, did you welcome that? And what's it been like 6 years after COVID, your pace now?
Yeah, it's been really interesting because since I was a kid, since I started with the girls, I think when I met the Spice Girls, 1994, I was 20. And the pace has been pretty hectic from day one, really. And for all of us, the pandemic did mean we had to slow down, and I did welcome it. I don't think I'd been in one place for that long throughout, my career. So that was good. But then, of course, we all got itchy feet, didn't we? And we were raring to get back out there. And I think the brilliant thing that brought is a real appreciation of our freedom to travel, to be together, to be in venues, to perform. So I've come back, I think like most artists, with so much excitement and inspiration and, again, gratitude to do what we do. And I probably have been busier than ever, but I love it. I started DJing as well, so that's kind of doubled my workload, but just in the most joyous way.
When you talk about how you got a little bit of itchy feet, do you ever have the reverse of itchy feet? I'm sure there's a phrase for it, Melanie. It's eluding me at the moment. Whether it's now or at earlier stages of your career where you are constantly moving around and you think, gosh, sometimes I wish I just was a bank teller or I worked in a supermarket or I was an accountant, something where you had a little bit more of that, what some might
routine,
describe as routine.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The grass is always greener, isn't it? I think as an artist, I love what I do. And in the last couple of years, meeting my partner, I've really started to accept that my work is such a big part of my life that rather than separating work and life, I enjoy them both together, which has been a big shift for me. I think it's really important as well because I do get to go to incredible places and do incredible things. And yeah, if you're compartmentalizing that as a work thing, sometimes it can get a bit stifling. So it's so lovely to just go, you know what, this is my life. This is my wonderful life that I've been lucky enough to create. So yeah, I'm having a really, really good time.
What do you think sparked that shift where you don't compartmentalise it so much? We talk a lot in the culture, this is probably more of a corporate culture than someone of your career, about bringing your whole self to work, quote unquote. For you, Melanie C., what does that look like?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting as a performer because like everyone, there are different sides to who we are. And I know when I'm on stage, when I'm performing, I'm very confident and outgoing. But sometimes in real life, in social situations, I can be quite shy and quite quiet. But I think it's just accepting that they're both parts of who you are. But for me, for work, I really take pride in my work. No matter what I'm doing, I feel really grateful and lucky for all of the wonderful things that I've been able to do. So I just try to not take anything for granted. And yeah, I think that shift happened probably meeting, my partner, Chris. He is able to travel with me a lot. He's a screenwriter, so often he can be anywhere. And that usually means with me, which is good for me. And yeah, it's just so beautiful to be able to enjoy the life I have with the person I love.
And also, I imagine when you talk about being only 20 when you audition for the Spice Girls, obviously it would be terrible cliche, albeit true, to think you could never have foreseen what life would look like 30 years, 32 years on from that first audition. Now age 52. Also, I imagine you never foresaw a world where you might still be working at the level that you are now, because the culture has, I hope, moved on in that we are embracing women, God forbid, over the age of 25, 35, 45, 55. We've got people like yourself having these fantastic, highly visible and celebrated careers with no end in sight.
Yeah, I think when you're young, you don't really think too much about the future, do you? You're very much in the present. And that was such an exciting time for myself and the Spice Girls, and we experienced sexism within the industry really early on, which made us determined to be a girl band for girls. And then quite quickly we realised we had a great following in the LGBTQ plus community. So it just became this really, beautiful movement that was so inclusive and we were so proud of. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older when I realised the ageism factor as well. But things have started to shift, and there are incredible female artists like Kylie, like Madonna, who are still out there, who are still making great music. And there was definitely a time where we wouldn't have had these opportunities in our 50s. I think women are having a real moment. It's so important. We talk about this on The Voice. Women have something to say. We've lived. There are so many things that happen with age, some of it not so good, some of it great. And one of those things is wisdom, and a real comfortableness with yourself, something you don't have when you're younger. So I think it's really important that those voices are heard and we open doors for younger generations of women coming up as well.
It also, a career that has vitality and longevity brings with it the opportunity to wear many hats and have different incarnations. We've touched upon some of them, and Melanie, you just said, for the fact that you have established a really successful, what I call it, side career. I was going to say hustle, but it just didn't feel right to use side hustle, but let's go with that. As a DJ.
Yeah.
And your new album, Sweat, the first single is of the same name, and I understand that it samples or has some inspiration from Diana Ross. So would it be fair to observe that this new album is a little bit of a pairing of your pop music career and sensibilities with this side hustle as a DJ?
Absolutely. I think that's what I've been working towards over the last few records I've made, because I absolutely love DJing and discovered dance music when I was 19 years old. Rave culture was sweeping across Europe, and I was just like fascinated by these all night long parties where people were just dancing, and it was just such a euphoric environment. But quite quickly, I became a Spice Girl, and like socialising, there was a bit of a halt on the socialising aspect of things. So I kind of left it behind. So becoming a DJ and really revisiting those moments, lots of, multi-genre house is the music that I play. I was a hardcore raver back in the day. So hearing those influences in music, in pop music, how genres have continued to cross in music today, has just really excited me. And I felt as a pop artist and a DJ, my worlds were quite far apart, and I was really keen to bring them closer together. And being a Spice Girl, obviously, I'll always be a pop artist, but it's just been really fun, like kind of delving into that more dance world and electronic world.
When you take Sweat out on the road for the global tour, how will those inspirations play out differently and in some ways, of course, the same as to previous global tours that you've undertaken?
Well, this tour, I want to really change things up a little bit. I've been touring continuously, since the 90s, and I've really played in different genres with different albums, really just focusing on whatever's inspiring me at that time. But right now it is very electronic, it's really up, it's really fun. Obviously the DJing's a big part of it. So the whole aesthetic of this album is really fun. Fitness is a big part of it as well. A song like Sweat, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. We've had a lot of fun with lyrics and really playing on that sporty persona. So the tour is really going to reflect that. It's going to be visually really fun. I always bring the energy anyway. I love being on stage. I'm still bouncing around. And it's going to be great putting the set list together, because I want to really mix things up a little bit.
And do you alter the tour at all, the playlist for where you're playing? It's so interesting in 2026. Global artists, when they're going to a new country or territory, a lot of their fans have already seen moments on social media, so they feel that they know what to expect. But then there are other performers who move things around and ad-lib a little bit. Where do you fit on that spectrum? Would you be playing differently to, say, when you're touring in North America or back home in the UK?
I don't think it would be very different. There might be some subtle changes in different territories where if particular songs have really, if someone's gravitated towards a particular song from the album, we'd maybe lean into that a little bit more. But I think here in Australia, one of the reasons I love it here is I feel at home. And I always say this, people have probably heard me say this a million times, but being from the north of the UK and being in Australia, we're the same. We've got the same sense of humour, we make fun of ourselves, and so I just feel very comfortable. And I think even musically, we sit in a very similar world.
Have you found that you have adopted anything from the Australian lexicon and found yourself using it back home, or vice versa, of course, because we would expect the odd north of England twang or turn of phrase on the voice? Being
with an Aussie, I have a lot of fun finding out some of the names you have for things. And me and my daughter, we laugh so much because there's something about Australianisms which are very literal. And for some reason that just really tickles us. One of my favourites is the slippery dip, which we call a slide. Yeah.
What? Yeah. When you first heard that, you're like, what what's it called? Yeah. And that would be a funny one when you're saying that then in an environment where no one's heard of it before.
Yeah.
Are there any others that spring to mind? Not to put you on the spot.
Now we were driving down the road one day, and my partner was saying, "No, you can't go in that lane because there's a witch's hat," and I was like, "Sorry, there's what?" There's a witch's hat. We call it a cone, right?
Which probably makes more sense, I guess.
So, but I mean, these things, they sound really silly, but when somebody says it with conviction, seriously, we have a lot of laughs over that.
You're probably thinking for a moment, what, a witch's hat? What?
Is it Halloween? What's
Where
going on?
am I? what is going on in this country? I wasn't aware of this sort of, how did they get there? Let me ask you a little bit about the working on The Voice and seeing the contestants come through. What does that spark in you? I imagine it really takes you back depending on where they are in their career and their age and their experience, and if they remind you of yourself or someone else that you've worked with along the way. And has that played any role as you go into the second season of it in how you show up as a performer and a creative yourself?
Yeah, I think working as a coach on The Voice, it's so inspiring because you see so many people, and we have all ages from all different walks of life. And I think it just reminds you of that ambition and that hunger and just how much talent is out there, And season 1, I found quite difficult because I just didn't have the confidence in my ability to help these people improve. And it's, it sounds silly, but, obviously I think we go through our lives and we're busy and we're doing the things, and you don't realise how much experience you have until you meet somebody who hasn't had that experience. So last year was brilliant for me because I saw the improvement rapidly in a lot of my artists. And so I've come back to this season feeling a lot more confident and really excited to kind of like get into it again. But just seeing people and their dreams and I think it's incredible when we meet someone who is maybe a plumber, a train driver, someone who's worked in these what we would consider to be very normal careers, but they've got this incredible talent, and that's what I love about the show. It really gives people an opportunity to be seen, to be heard.
And what about the dynamic between yourself and the fellow coaches? So you and Ronan Keating knew each other. This is the second year working together. There's Richard Marks and Kate Miller-Heidke. Yeah. It is obviously a competitive component because when you all turn around or spin around for somebody, then you've all got to do your little pitch and get them to come to you. So let me ask you a little bit about the dynamic. Can you tell us, have you got a particular pitch this year, Melanie, or do you just... Because I would imagine it's like, well, hello. Yeah. It's me.
Yeah. The great thing is about my fellow coaches, we're all so different. Obviously, probably me and Ronan are the most similar. Him from the boy band, me from the girl band. But Kate, in a league of her own in her, genre. And then Richard is something else. Singer, songwriter, producer, work with the greats in the world. So often when we see an artist, we kind of have a feeling who they might go with. So that's when, the heat is on and the pitch has got to be good. But I think this year I'm just coming with more confidence. And for me, there are the obvious ones where if it's somebody who is more of a dancer alongside their work, wants to be more in a pop scenario. So I know I'm pretty keen to get my hands on those people, but it's the other ones that kind of fall in the cracks, whether it's, a big voice like somebody who might want to go towards Kate. So it's always fun to see where people go. Sometimes I'm a little bit surprised, but I think this year definitely I'm going to be going in all guns blazing.
If I ask you to wind back the clock to 20-year-old Melanie going to audition for the Spice Girls, if that was happening in 2026 and you were auditioning for The Voice Australia, What would you do? What song would you pick?
This is a really good question. So I sang Pointer Sisters, I'm So Excited, for my audition for the band that became the Spice Girls. And that was basically because my mum's also a singer. And we're back in the 90s now, so we didn't have all the music platforms to drag their backing tracks from. We had to use sheet music, and I didn't have any sheet music. I was like, Mum, what you got? And she posted it down to me in London. I mean, it sounds like, another time, doesn't it?
But it was, though.
It
I mean,
was.
I'm the same age. It was a different time.
It's wild, right? So I left home when I was 16. I went to Performing Arts College, and I used to call my mum on a payphone once a week, and I putting all my 20p's in until I ran out. And, I think about it now, all of us, we have our children tracked on our phones. We know where they are 24/7. We don't know what they're doing, but we know where they are. And I just think, wow, our parents must have just been petrified. Can you imagine a girl from the north of England goes down to London to study, and you virtually had very little contact with them?
It's unbelievable how much change has happened
so
in 3
much.
decades.
Yeah.
We have to surrender them. Our parents' generation must have just had to surrender so much more to the universe than we do. And obviously there's a good side to that too for all of us, that we're not so plugged in. I love the fact that the song that you picked was the Pointer Sisters. It feels a bit full circle moment. There might be a little bit of inspiration for that in Sweat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my mum's such a huge inspiration to me because I have never known a life without music. My mum sang from the age of 14. She was in bands. So when I was growing up, there was always musicians in the house, people rehearsing. I used to go and watch her play at weekends. And to me, that was just my normal. And it wasn't until, I got older and started hanging out with my friends' houses and stuff, I realised, oh, okay, I live in quite an unusual environment, and I was just so proud of my mum. She was so glamorous, and I really looked up to her. So definitely a lot of the music she was performing at the time was what inspired me.
And it's having a real moment, isn't it? I feel like there's a few different revivals going on at the moment, and there's a real sort of affinity, I think, for whatever age. Because let me ask you a little bit, Melanie, about the demographic. I mean, obviously, the people that you're mentoring on The Voice Australia, it's quite a wide demographic. As you say, it could be someone coming in that's a plumber, might be quite well established in their life, might have a family. Yeah. This is a pivot for them, all the way through to, of course, people that would be a bit more reminiscent to yourself as that 20-year-old auditioning and very much at the beginning of their career. Do you find that people respond to you the same way because your origin story through the Spice Girls is genuinely one of those rare stories where it's got this massive, not only global recognition, but true multi-generational recognition?
It's true, it astounds me. I think especially the younger artists, and I think we have one of our youngest ever singers this year. And it's so beautiful, being a Spice Girl. Obviously, there's a certain age, from the 30s, 40s, we know, they were the right age at the right time. It was definitely a part of their upbringing and growing up. But then when we see younger generations who weren't even born, and it's beautiful, and it's a legacy that we're so proud of.
I was thinking, I hope you don't find this an overblown comparison, but at Stella, probably about 8 years ago, we interviewed Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney, and the cover line was something like, I was in the Beatles. Wow. And do you have that same feeling for everything else that happens in your life, everything else you've achieved? There's just that huge defining, and all of us want our lives to have some meaning and impact, and to have been part of that story at such a young and formative age in your very, very early 20s.
Yes, it's mind-blowing, and it's really nice every now and again to really sit down and think about it. And like you say, for anyone to have left a mark, something that's going to live on beyond you. And, the Spice Girls is bigger than any of us, you know. The five of us know that the Spice Girls is the thing, and we're all so grateful. And we've all gone on to do incredible things, have beautiful families. We're very proud of ourselves and each other. And yeah, I feel like, you know, Paul, it's so funny, isn't it? I love Paul McCartney, you know, what an incredible man. And it is a bit of a pinch me moment every now and again. You do have to remind yourself.
Talking about the Spice Girls, I alluded to this earlier, but in July will be the 30th anniversary since Wannabe was released. I imagine as the Northern Summer approaches, there's going to be retrospectives, anniversary celebrations. Obviously, the $1,000,000 question, $1,000,000,000 question, maybe trillion. You've probably been asked this question a trillion times by now. But the word reunion comes up a lot. Recently, this Oasis, when they were on their reunion tour, Victoria Beckham tagged all of you in the Spice Girls and was like, oh, tempting. So is it tempting? And if it's tempting, how does that then get extrapolated?
It's more than tempting. It's something I would love to do and something I hope will happen at some point. We're so precious about, you know, this beautiful thing that we created, that sometimes the thing that holds us back from doing something is we don't want to do the wrong thing, you know, and we are five pretty strong-minded people and we often disagree. Not in a negative way, but it's just, and we, you know what, we're grown-ups now. We have so much love and respect for each other that if, you know, somebody has what they think is a fantastic idea and somebody's not feeling it, we honour and respect that. So we are constantly talking, constantly trying to navigate and find the best way to celebrate the thing that we love so much. So, it's trying to catch us all at the right time. 2019, we did some stadium shows in the UK and they were magical. And, you know, sadly, Victoria wasn't with us for those shows. She really missed out. And I keep telling her, you know, you have to experience that for yourself. So we will continue to, you know, talk and, you know, fingers crossed at some point there will be something beautiful that can celebrate the Spice Girls.
You recently observed that Australia has never been home to a Spice Girls concert, which I have to admit, I knew I hadn't seen the Spice Girls live, but I assumed that there had been a concert somewhere and that I had just missed out. That's pretty wild. And then going back to the parochial, now that you're an honorary Australian, Melanie, do you think Australia will be part of any potential reunion, maybe the first leg of it? I'm just putting it out there.
It would be wonderful. It's incredible to think the Spice Mania, as I call it, from 1996 to 1998, okay? It was 2 years. We went on tour in 1998. We toured Europe, North America. And they're the only territories you've ever played live as a band. In fact, even America hasn't seen 5 Spice Girls because Jerry had already left. So our live performances were quite limited. And that breaks my heart because that's the favourite thing for me. You know, it's the best part of everything that we do. So I would be the first one. Closely followed by Mel B, probably. We both love Australia and we would love to play here live. I hope and pray, keep my fingers crossed, and I'll be there shouting for Australia if and when some decisions are made.
I also wanted just to ask you a little bit about the fact that friendship and that connection has endured. I think it's so heartwarming for many reasons. Obviously, for fans, it means the world. But it also helps counter that narrative that you dealt with throughout your career when the Spice Girls were still together, and then as the band started to take a slight incarnation, and then in the years since, every time there's tour conversation, it's always that classic catfight or terribly unimaginative variable of, because as you and I both know, if we love to do anything as a culture, as a media, as social media, is to pit women against one another, and the more famous and successful, the better. So the fact that you have maintained this friendship is really special.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's evolved over time. You know, when we were first together, we were so single-minded in what we wanted to achieve, and we have always celebrated our differences. At that time, we came together, we wanted the same thing, we made it happen, you know, we had this incredible ride. And then there have been times in life where our differences have kept us apart. And this is just life. You know, we were young, we were under a lot of pressure, a lot of scrutiny. And we've gone through all these different phases with our friendships, but we're more than friends. We're more than colleagues. It's like family. You know, we know each other's children. We've watched them grow. In fact, we were there for the birth of some of them. We know each other's parents, siblings. So it's this huge family. And I would say now, you know, we're all 50 now, or in our 50s, and we're all parents. We probably respect and appreciate each other more than we ever have done. And, you know, that just comes with the passing of time. Sometimes somebody's naughty, you know, we've all got friends, and there's moments where, you know, someone steps out of line, but we've always, you know, we're there for each other. No matter what happens, if anybody needs something, you know, and I know, we all know that we're there for each other.
It's like when you have a best friend or a childhood friend, it's that shorthand that no one else will ever really understand, because you've been through this experience that very few people in the world will ever understand.
It's true.
And it's such a formative time in your life.
Yeah.
I think those sorts of connections, whether they're professional or personal, are really rare. You're
Absolutely.
witnesses to one another's life stories.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows us five as well as we know each other. You know, we've been through so much together. And like I say, no one's experienced that. It's very, very rare. So, yeah, we do appreciate that more now than ever.
It's lovely how you say, you know, you've seen each other. Your lives have obviously gone through different chapters and have children. Victoria Beckham's son, Cruz, posted a video just recently, which was really lovely, where it was yourself, Victoria, Emma and Jerry. And he was accompanying you, singing Viva Forever, I think. Like, he's moments like that.
He's a great musician. Yeah, he's got music out right now, and he's so lovely because it's always been his passion. And, you know, obviously David and Victoria have a beautiful family, and the children have gone off in different directions, but Cruz has always been music. And I remember when he was little, I remember having him on stage with me. I remember him being on stage with the Spice Girls. But he's been smart because he's taken his time. He's really understood the craft. You know, he plays, he produces, and he's having a great time. He's loving being out there.
Well, I was going to say maybe we could get him on The Voice Australia, but maybe if there is a Spice Girls reunion for the 30th anniversary, maybe he could do a cameo. Yeah. That's right, exactly. Final question on that, just if you're comfortable saying, is there like a Spice Girls group chat? If so, does it have a name? And is there one person of the five that you know is going to send you the funny text? You know, when if you've got a group chat or a group, it's always going to be someone that goes, well, of course. Exactly. Is there somebody that's their specialty?
Well, I've got in trouble for saying this in the past, but all friendship groups have this. We have different ones with different people in, but the one that makes me laugh is, it's so funny, over the years we have this running joke where everything is Mel B's idea. So the group that she started, the group chat, is called My Idea. And yeah, she will definitely be the one sending the funny messages.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can relate to that. I was going to say, I think I might be that person. There's probably group chats going.
I know. I
Sarah
said to Emma once,
I
said, you know, you're the only person who's not got a group chat without you in it. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're so diplomatic.
In preparation for this interview, Melanie, I was watching an interview from 1996. It was in a restaurant. It was with the five of you, and it was just before the Spice Girls really exploded. The single had just come out, and you're all sitting there chatting, having dinner. It was, I believe, a British journalist who clearly had no idea that they were there where history was about to explode. I think on YouTube it's literally labelled something like "interview with the Spice Girls" just before they exploded. So, you know, it literally says what it is on the tin. And it was so fascinating watching that. And as I've touched upon in this, no one could have known what was possibly around the corner. And you're also young and so unguarded. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about what your memories of that moment are. And I've spoken to people like yourself that are so incredibly famous and had your anonymity taken away so young. As I said, I know it's a very tiny group of people. Is there ever a a part of you that could tap into just being so unguarded? And I mean, in front of a journalist, no less. They're filming it.
Yeah, it was a funny time because we never had any media training, which I believe anyone, going into the public eye would have now. And I think sometimes I say media training was invented because of the Spice Girls, because we literally didn't care. We went out there, we said exactly what we wanted to say, we spoke over each other. But it was brutal in a sense because we weren't given any guidance. We were kind of like thrown out to the lions, especially in the 90s in the UK. The tabloid media were savage. And we got our fingers burnt many, many times. But yeah, we had to learn very quickly. Yeah.
The way that there has been a reckoning, of course, about how we as a culture, the media, treated women in the 90s, in the early noughts, from everyone from Britney Spears through to world leaders and women that, were running for office. Yeah. So in some ways, obviously we like to think things have gotten better. Yeah. What about for you? As you say, that particularly that UK tabloid media. I mean, the misogyny and the things that are said in your fabulous memoir that came out in 2022, Who I Am, My Story. You spoke about your struggles with body image. You developed an eating disorder. I mean, the way that women's bodies were critiqued, it really is, even by the cruelty that exists today and in social media, it really is a bit gobsmacking, isn't it?
Yeah, we do live in a very different world now. And, I feel like our children are having a really hard time because social media is so prevalent. But back in the 90s, the tabloid media was, it was hardcore. And we were bullied. It was really nasty. Like when I was writing my memoir, it gave me an opportunity to go back and to look at some of those articles. And actually, it was quite cathartic for me because I did struggle. I suffered with depression and eating disorders and anxiety. And I'm a very driven person and very disciplined, being an artist. I was a dancer before I started singing. So it's always been a big part of my life. And for me to have these weaknesses, I really beat myself up about it. And looking back over a lot of the things that were written about myself and the other girls, it gave me the freedom to forgive myself because as a young person, I didn't have a chance. I look back and I thought about myself as a young person, and it was, we were like prey. We were hunted, and they were very, very cruel. And it wasn't just me. It wasn't just the Spice Girls. It was, like you said, every woman in the public eye. So, I think we really should be ashamed of ourselves for allowing at that time what was appropriate or what was deemed appropriate to be asking young women at that time is an absolute disgrace. So thank goodness things have changed.
Thank goodness, indeed. Some people would say social media in some ways has made it harder for, pretty much everyone, I suppose, that's online. But again, in the context of your particular lived experience for a famous person and a famous woman, what would you say? Do you think social media, could you have imagined navigating that as a young artist?
I'm really grateful it didn't exist when the Spice Girls were around in the 90s. I think, it would have been a whole different thing. Even now, as an artist, we never rest. As people, generally, we never rest. A lot of us have our phone right next to our heads when we're sleeping. It's the first thing we look at when we wake up in the morning. Think about being a teenager. Their whole life is online. There's no escape for them, So it's amazing here that you guys don't allow social media under the age of 16. I think that's a brilliant thing. My daughter's 17 now, and she can't imagine her life without it. And she probably started at about 14. But it's a lot for parents to navigate as well, because we don't understand as much as we think we do. we don't understand the world that they're growing up in.
It's so true. We're sort of like the lab rats, for one of a more elegant way of putting it, and we're going to look back, even though we know in the middle of it right now that it's not good, and we worry about it as people and certainly as parents, but we are going to look back in 10 or 20 years and go, wow, what did we do? What did we allow?
Like everything in life, there's good and bad in all of these things, just sadly, as humans, wouldn't it be nice if we could just push towards the good stuff a bit more?
And for you, for the way you've navigated social media, because as with all of us, from Gen X and elder millennials, it also happened through the course of your career, as we've just talked about. It didn't exist when you were young, so you've also had to learn, how much do I share? I wanted to ask you about that, Melanie, because you're very open and candid in some ways. And as I say, this the memoir was incredibly moving, and I imagine had a big impact on a lot of people that read it and felt heard and seen by you being so open with your experience. But then you understandably are also very guarded about parts of your life. You do protect your personal life. How have you managed to, I guess, pull that off in 2026 when, because of social media, so many of your fans would think they've got that direct line and every aspect of your life is up for grabs?
You know what? I think because I had some quite negative experiences early on in my career with the British tabloid media, it made me very wary. It made me realise that I wasn't comfortable having my whole life exposed, that when it came to social media, I just... there's certain parts of my life I do want to keep as private. I think it's really difficult if you've started to be very open with things to kind of go back. So I feel grateful for some of the decisions that I made early on. But it's a constant question, really, because like you say, in interviews I'll speak very openly about my partner, my daughter, but I'm not that comfortable. And also, I also am very conscious that what I do for a career affects everybody around me, and some people don't really want that in their lives, so you just have to tread carefully.
And you've seen how fame can impact the lives of people around you, for better or worse.
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
Something life-changing happens, it's not just you, it's your family and your loved ones, probably people that you went to school with and neighbourhood with. Everyone, there's that ripple effect, isn't there?
Yeah, it's true.
I feel like there can't be much more that you could fit into this year, but somehow there is. Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, Melanie, about Girl Group. This is an upcoming film that is written, directed, produced by Rebel Wilson. I mean, was she running around making coffee and painting the sets in her spare time?
Is there anything this woman can't do? She was brilliant. And do you know what I loved about the experience? I've only really been on set for Spicewell the movie, so it could be quite an intimidating place, but it was so much fun. And everyone, from obviously the crew, everybody worked so hard, to the cast, everyone was just having a ball. And I think that's really going to shine through when people see the movie. And the reason I wanted to be involved in this movie, because it's a real celebration. It's very positive. Rebel loves her music. She loves pop music, girl bands, boy bands, and this is her brilliant take on that world.
How did you find the experience? As you say, you hadn't been on set for a while. Do you see potentially, I mean, again, in all your spare time, another side hustle as an actor? I mean, I saw you not on stage, but I've seen you perform as Mary Magdalene in Jesus Christ Superstar. You made, I think, your West End debut in Blood Brothers. So you have been on stage and performed. As I say, is this sparked a bit of a light for a 3.0 Melanie C?
Well, I think you won't be surprised to hear that me having a role in Girl Group, it wasn't too far a reach as an actress.
You didn't have to method act too hard for it.
Yeah, I went method. But I've always enjoyed acting, and if the right role came up, if it was something I felt I could do well. But like you say, I'm quite busy. I better just put my energy into the things I've got going on right now.
Looking back at your memoir in preparation for this interview and the trials and the darker times and the challenge of the media and just the scrutiny that you have endured for over 30 years. You seem to be more comfortable in your own skin at 52 than you ever have.
Yeah.
Is that even remotely true? And if so, what would you put that down to?
Yeah, I think it's getting older. I feel so much calmer now, and I suppose a few different little life events. But I think it's hard growing up. It's hard, full stop. Teens, 20s, even your 30s. And I just, in a sense, feel grateful for the battles that I've overcome. It's given me strength to carry on. And I'm just, I think also when you hit 50, you're a bit like, you know what? Not everybody makes it this far. And I think we just have to really live each day the best that we can. And I'm doing all right. I can't complain.
You are doing more than all right. It's been a pleasure to meet you, Melanie. Actually, when people see you in Australia or globally, what do they call out to you? Because you've been obviously known by a few different monikers. Sporty Spice, I've had no reason to refer to you as Sporty Spice until this very end, so I've got to quickly get it in. But what do they call out?
I probably get Mel C more than anything. Sometimes I get Mel B, and the occasional Sporty.
Do you have a preference? Like, just if anyone is going to spot you in Australia anytime this year, what should they say?
Yeah, you're probably going to get your best response if you just say Mel.
Well, it really has been a pleasure. Now, Melanie's new album, Sweat, is out 1st of May, and tickets for her Australian tour on sale soon via Live Nation. Thank you. I can't think of an honorary Australian I would love to welcome into our country. I mean, I've just appointed myself some newfound ambassador for citizenship or whatever. Look, it's going to take. It's been a real pleasure to chat to you.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.